this is really the work that I'm doing. This is my devotion, is to support women specifically in recalibrating and reconnecting with their innate powers and their innate gifts. Everybody has superpowers. It's just really the permission that we give ourselves to let them come through in the safe places that are set up to allow these things to come through. Yeah. But I also, I have a tattoo on my hand that has specific symbols. Now, through certain experience with family members, I have been called a witch by my family members, and
not in the good way.
Sorry?
And not in the good way.
No, because they're Christian. And so what's the Christian foundation of the Christian religion, or any religion, is good and evil. And witch was a derogatory term that was used for women that was connected to nature or the elements, and then they're cast out as evil. So it's justified to burn them because our religion is based off of this dualistic nature. And so now when you use the word witch and there is a religious program that is running in the foundation of your identity, then you need to do everything to get that out. And I just so happen to fit that shoe size. I'm like, and I have these symbols and I do this work and I'm a witch according to what they know. And ultimately what I'm experiencing on the other side of the lens is I'm experiencing that I'm supporting people through some of the greatest healings that they've ever experienced in their lives. That is what is real. And I am so ready to stand in the fire and be projected on until kingdoms come, because I know that I am leaving this planet more beautiful than I found it. And that's the only truth that I can live with. Other people will create stories based off of what they know, and we judge what we don't understand, and I get that, and I have compassion for that, and I genuinely love anybody that is going to create a judgment towards what it is that I do, but it's not going to stop me from doing it. I'm not going to be burnt in this lifetime.
No, you're not. And if you get burned, there's going to be a lot of people in that fire.
And that's what I felt when you were there with me as well. I was like, oh, wow, these two humans are my family for life, because if you can meet me and hold space for this to come through, then you can have a friend for 40 years and never go to the depth where we went to in a very short period of time. And to me, that says the fabric of the longevity of our connection.
I too am dedicated to healing myself, of course, but the world. And so I see you and I see what you're doing. So an attack on you is an attack on all things that are good. It's an attack on the healing of the beings of this planet, all beings. And so
that means so much to me, by the way.
Yeah, they come for you, they come for me. It's as simple as that.
I love you so much.
I love you too. Going back to the term witch, there's a certain power in reclaiming that word, and it's like, you see this with other words too that have been cast, especially towards women, but towards all people. A word like slut, for example. And then women will say, no, I'll reclaim that word. Fine. You want to call me a slut? I'll be a slut. And like, I'll own that and like reclaim. And there's like a power in it. And there's a certain power in actually using that word, and which certainly maybe doesn't have the same kind of, well, it does. It's just different, and there's power in reclaiming that word and say, this is what you wanted to call me. So here I am, I am this, can you deal with it? And there's a power in that. There's also the other option of just being like, yeah, well, let's just stay away from that word.
Right.
Let's just like leave it to the side. But then again, when you do that, you leave room for people to use the word as an attack, as an arrow, as a barb. And so I think that's why these words, the reclamation of these words has so much power. What's your stance on that particular topic? Like the use of the word witch or calling it something else?
I still haven't fully claimed the word myself. I have not presented myself as a witch.
Oops.
I mean, I really try to avoid labels in
Sure.
general. You know, people have said shaman. I really don't. I would never present myself as a shaman. I would say I'm listening,
Right.
which is it seems kind of dull, but also simultaneously it means it can be anything. I can be a dragon in a moment. I can be a witch. I can be a crone. But it's a listening to what's alive in the moment, as opposed to this is what I am and I can only be defined as this. It's multifaceted, multidimensional, which is the realm of the medicine, or the realm of healing in general. That's what it truly means to be the hollow bone, is to be everything and nothing simultaneously. And so I think that there is a reclamation of the witch that's happening in the collective right now within women. The archetype, the Joan of Arc energy that is like, you know what? I do have something inside of me, and I'm not going to be burnt again. And I'm going to have all of the courage to start speaking. And even though my voice trembles, I'm going to share my story and my truth. And if the word witch supports that, then fully claim it. Then that is medicine for the planet. And I have a sister that fully claims Brianna. She has been, like I shared with you, one of my greatest teachers, and she has fully claimed the word witch. And it can be used in multiple ways. We're like, careful, she's a witch. You know, it's really about the tone, or like, she's a witch.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but anybody that's had any religious programming, that's going to create a lot of their defenses to come up, because that represents evil.
Yeah. It's when you think about this in history, you know, you think about just men who had physical superiority over women. Yeah. And these powers threatened the balance of power amongst the sexes. All of a sudden, there was an access to a certain power that threatened the physicality that men were able to bring. And so that created this fear, right? And then you look at religion, and this gave direct access to the divine, which certainly most religion was built upon being the middleman between ordinary people and God, so that they could actually, as all middlemen do, whether you're dealing drugs or you're dealing God, the middleman gets fucking rich. You know what I mean? And so obviously anybody who is offering direct access, you know, got to get them out. It's just good business. You know, if you're the middleman, you eliminate the competition. You know, you become the source and the dealer of all divinity. But you look at it from that lens, and it's so sad. But then nonetheless, we think, oh, good thing we've moved past that. But really, you know, like, what are the institutions now that are suppressing different types of information, suppressing natural methods of healing, you know, suppressing all of these things? It's still the energy of, this is scary. It tips the balance of power, and this is bad for business. So let's eliminate it. You know, and that's why all the great revolutionaries have been killed. That's why all of these things have happened, is anything that threatens this balance of power is a threat. And people who are addicted and drunk on power, they just eliminate it.
And it's also, the funny thing is it's not a sustainable source of power, because it comes from something external. We're bypassing the fountain of youth, the greatest nectar of life, which is the only place it can come from, is internally. And women just have the Stargate Enterprise between their legs, a portal from one dimension to the next, where every single human on this planet came out of. A woman.
Yep.
How threatening. It threatens the very power structures that are in place right now. But hey, we're in the Great Reset. We're in the great purge of humanity right now in this time. And anything rotten in the foundation of humanity is coming out through the law of nature. It must. So what's happening? The women are coming out, and their voices are starting to be heard. The ones that have been behind the scenes healing, but not anymore. And here we are having a podcast about it. This is the first time I've publicly spoken about this level of healing that I do.
Yeah. And the mob will come. The mob will come. It's just the nature of it, you know, and this is something that all of us who are stepping forward to stand for something really beautiful, to stand for the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Like, the mob is coming, and it's there. All you have to do is put out your opinions, and there's a million ways that you'll be attacked and people will try to cancel you. The advantage we have in our world right now is it's fucking intense to be canceled. It's intense to have a bunch of Instagram arrows slung at you, but it's not as intense as a big pile of sticks and a fucking lit torch. You know, like that was the reality for a long time. We're like, we can handle this. You know, like people aren't getting killed, and so I trust and believe that it's not going to go to that. I mean, of course, there is a dystopian idea in which things could get so dark that it could happen like that, but it doesn't look like it. You know, doesn't look like it, and it looks like, yeah, the mob will come, but they're not going to come with their pitchforks. They're just going to come with
words,
some shitty comments.
And the beautiful thing that I'm feeling is that the contract that was created between you and I long ago and far away was to be able to talk about this, but then to have our tribe, have our crew, have our community, where that's actually what's the most important. And we can have the internet trolls say things and to try and break it down. But when you have community and when you have each other, then it's an immunity that transcends that having the power over. And that's why we need community. That's why we need like-minded individuals. And I use the word need very little. Yeah. But it's extremely important. Yeah. And when I sat in the ceremony and I could see everybody's light bodies being not just a physical flesh puppet and the names that we have and the positions in society in which we do, but actually saw everyone's soul. That was when I was like, I am home with my family here. And we're powerful as individuals, but together when we unite, we're unstoppable. Yeah. And love will always win. And we have come a long way. We have come a long way. Like you said, from pitchforks and from being burnt at the stake to Instagram comments or a nasty email here or there. Like we've come a long way. But if someone was to come hunt me down and put me on a stake and burn me publicly, I mean, it would be unheard of. That would cause a revolution. Yeah. So we are moving in a beautiful direction and we get to trust that everything is right on time. But the fact that we're even having this conversation for me gives me hope. The fact that the universe has conspired through divine intervention that we sit down and have this conversation, and you've desired to have a conversation with me, and that we're talking about a very, very unique experience that only you witnessed. That to me says that there is something bigger at play here, and this message is not about me.